Hi, everyone. This is Caroline with the Expat Interviews Thriving Abroad, where I have the opportunity to share with you some of the most amazing people that are living their best life across the water, across the globe, all around the world. And I'm so excited today to share a little story with you from my guest, Salise, who is living her best life in Great Britain, the UK, England, all of the
Oh,
above. Welcome, Salise. Thank you so much for.
thank you. Hey, thank you so much, Carolyn. Glad to be here today.
So we've got much to talk about. I thought I had the distinction of being the OG when it came to the expat life, but I see that, that you definitely have one up on me. How long have you lived in England?
You know what? I was thinking about it. It is 2021 this year, and I will have been in England 20 years this year.
Wow. And you're originally from.
I'm originally from North Carolina. I thought North Carolina was a small place to be in this big world. And after I graduated from university, I decided to move to Chicago. And I was like, ooh, this is where all the world kind of exists. And so I worked in Chicago. And then after that, I had some things on my bucket list of things to do. But once I finished them, I came to England, London, the United Kingdom, and have been here for long enough that I consider it my home.
So you went at a time when it wasn't that fashionable for a lot of women to be doing the expat thing, at least not for that long. I mean, when you left the U.S., was that the first country that you had on your radar, or did you have other choices in mind?
Yeah, so I think I want to get rid of that kind of perception that it wasn't a lot of people doing the expat life. When I came over in 2001, I came over with a consulting company, and I would just be walking down the street and I would hear an accent and I would turn my head. There were so many Black African American women in the UK that there was actually like a networking group, a whole bunch of us back then. Of course, economies have changed and life has changed. But when I came back in, I mean, when I came over in 2001, there were a lot of women who were here. So yeah, I think it's a great place to be, but that perception that there weren't a lot of people actually making that move isn't wasn't accurate at the time when I came.
Okay, oh, I stand corrected.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Okay, so here you are in England. Are you by yourself? Do you have children? Is it just you?
Yeah, so I came over, like I said, in 2001 and worked for a year and a half. I met my husband, the man who would become my husband. So yeah, it's just me, he and I here. He was born in the UK in Nottingham. And yeah, we got married in 2003, and I decided to transfer from work. And I was like, I'm going to show all these people that Americans have passports. Because every time I go, they're like, why do people never go? Americans never travel. I'm like, excuse me, we have 10 days a year holiday, whereas around the world, most people have 20, 30 days of holiday. So anytime anyone comes to me and says, why haven't you traveled? I'm like, it's because we don't have that many days holiday. So yeah, I've been over here for a very long time. Me and my husband, it's just he and I.
Oh, that's really nice. So, would you say it was a big culture shock, culturally leaving North Carolina, which is, that's a culture all to itself. Would you say that it was pretty, uh, was it an easy adjustment?
Yeah. So the thing is, you think about where am I going to go in the world where I can be understood and get what I need? And you think, okay, they speak English. Well, that is not the case when you come to the UK. When I came over, I came for work, and every I think it's like every week we had a meeting, and no, we had a daily catch up every day. And for 30 days, I did not know what anybody was saying. I was like, I know they're speaking English, but I just don't understand. So there's so many accents here, and there are people from all over the world. And people saying, why didn't you pick up the accent? And it's like, you can't really pick up the accent because you're listening to people from Ireland and Scotland and England and India and Japan and China, and any country you can think of is what it's like here in London. So I never took the time to really um, I can't even say I was only around even English people. Like everybody I met was just so diverse, and every accent, that it was just a matter of me putting my ear to like understand. But to go back to my story in terms of like having those meetings every day, it took me 30 days to kind of, I just was like, if they say Salise, I will understand. But it didn't. And like 30 days later, I was kind of going, okay, I can understand everything. But I was just dropped in. I thought I'd understand. I thought everything would be clear. There are different words. So you think you're saying, I want to go on the elevator. And they're like, no, we're going on the lift. And I want to throw this in the trash can. And they're like, no, we throw them in the bin. And I want to walk on the sidewalk. And they're like, no, we're on the pavement. So all of these kind of things, you think you're just going to walk over here and like, oh, I understand English. And you're like, no, really, you don't.
Oh, and you're in a queue, right? You're not in the
Yeah,
line.
yeah, you're in the queue. Yeah, not
Not
a
in
line. There are no lines over
their
here.
queues.
There are queues.
Oh, so after 20 years, did you pick up any customs? I mean, do you find you didn't pick up the accent, but are
Mhm.
there any English customs that you've picked up over or the course of this time?
Yeah, so Christmas is very different. A lot of questions that I'm asked is, oh, Americans love Thanksgiving and Christmas. Which one is the bigger of the two? And I'm like, it just depends. I think I would rather have Thanksgiving because my mom's going to cook all my favorite foods. So we generally go home to my parents for Thanksgiving, and we spend Christmas with my husband's family. Now, Christmas is really different. So, of course, they still kind of do the Christmas trees. But like Christmas dinner is really different. So we do a turkey for dinner and Brussels sprouts and vegetables like carrots and parsnips and all kinds of weird kind of things that they don't do. They generally give out like gold coins, chocolate coins, and different things. So just I'd say like Christmas is really different, and I kind of and hang out with my husband's family doing Christmas. I eat just about everything British. There's some weird things. So they have this thing, I think it's called jellied eel. I'm like, no, I ain't going there. But anything kind of else, I'll try. So fish and chips, I'm down for it. Any kind of thing that's edible. I go in the grocery store, and if I look through the shelves and I see something, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try that. So I like a lot of things. There's this dish called piccalilli that you eat on crackers and cheese. And when I say, oh, I want some piccalilli, people are looking at me like, how do you know what that is? So yeah, I'm one of those explorer types.
Do you find that people are curious about your accent? Because clearly, right off the bat, you're not just American, you have a distinct American accent. So that really identifies what part of the US you're from. Do people make mention of that?
Yeah, so a lot of people are saying, the first thing they say, oh, you haven't lost your accent. Where are you from? And it's interesting. I'm from North Carolina, and I tend to find that people have some type of connection to North Carolina. It doesn't matter where I am. I'm like, what's up with North Carolina? People say they know someone who went to school or somebody who worked there or something. And I'm like, wow, that's really strange. I tend to identify or recognize people with some type of North Carolina connection than New York or California, LA, anything like that. So North Carolina is, yeah, people are always asking me what's it like, and I'm like, it's fabulous. So people also want to know, is it more expensive in London or is it more expensive in North Carolina? I say you can't really compare the two because it's a small midtown kind of location region.
Right, and sure, and Europe is definitely a different pay scale than. But what is life like there in general for someone who's really never been to Europe? You know, what you being the ambassador to London, what would you say? What are some of the highlights that an expat or someone who's considering moving there would enjoy?
So I'd say if you're an explorer, come to London because you can get to anywhere in the world from London. It's a walkable city, you know. If you're in central London, I imagine when most people come, they're probably going to be in central London. So I'd say you can walk. There are lots of even cycle lanes. When I first came, you know, they were trying to get people to get on their bikes, but now they're designated spaces on the road where you can cycle. Of course, even all of the great attractions from Big Ben to Houses of Parliament down to London Bridge and Tower of London, which is not London Bridge. But you can walk that and we could take a tour. Like you can just walk that one day and just pretty much see all the main things that you want to see. It is expensive. So don't come here expecting like you're going to have this easy life. Transport is great on the tube. You can get on the tube. You can wear your mask. But it's a great place to be. It's very diverse. There are people from all over the world. So if you like that, you're going to enjoy it. The places that you can live are going to be small. So if you're coming from America expecting some huge place, you're not really going to get it. So don't come expecting the world. Just know that you're in a different place. But London would be glad to have you. I think you will enjoy it. It is a great place to be. There are always events in London or even the UK. Like you don't have to be in London like well, obviously we're COVID now, but
Right.
every day, all the time, there's something to do. You can go down to Trafalgar Square every Saturday and see stuff. You know, they did the Passion of Christ out there. They do, you know, every kind of festival, Hindu festival, Muslims, all kinds of things. Everything's out there. So London's really a great place to come and start your life. Yeah.
And obviously for families, what about what do you know? But you've been there for a while. Are they? Is it a complicated process if you're wanting to become a resident there? Do you have to have like a job or be sponsored?
Yeah, so I don't know in terms of if people come without papers, like you can't come without papers, but we have visas that are like specially skilled people who are coming over. Recently, the UK has kind of been like, oh, there are a lot of not expats, but just people from different parts of the world because we were part of the European Union. So there were a lot of people coming in, getting their benefits and things because the UK has free medical health care and health insurance. So a lot of people were coming over. But the way you can find out more information about the visas is to go on their website is gov.uk. So it sounds weird, but it's gov.uk, and they'll have lots of information about relocating, transport, healthcare, all those kind of things. But it's not, you know, a crazy process. You can get all your paperwork done. It's efficient. So, you know, like some places you go and you never hear anything or you don't know what's happening. It's not one of those places. They'll get your paperwork done.
Okay, good. That's good to know. So I know that you have a very strong interest in living in England. You know, your husband. But for the future, do you see yourself living somewhere else? Is this home for you? Is this it? Um, are there other countries maybe that you would consider in the future?
Well, you know, when you start having aging parents, you start wondering about living abroad and how quickly you can get home. And even with COVID, just how quickly you can get home. So right now I'm in the UK. I think I would love to like live in Paris, right? Like it's a couple of hours on the train. But I think, I don't know, I'm really in a place where I don't know what I'm going to do right now. So we're here. Yeah, I'd love to go live in Paris for a little while, and maybe I'll probably end up back in America. But it's not necessarily because that's the best place to be. But I just think like, just gotta look out for your people. That's all. So
Sure.
yeah, would I go anywhere else? I don't know. The Maldives. I'm trying to make my money to spend my retirement in the Maldives, but no, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
I always ask my guests to give a little bit of advice for someone who might be watching the video that's on the fence about, living abroad. We just take it for granted because we are experienced expats, but there might be someone who's looking and saying, "Wow, living abroad, that just seems so huge to me." What bit of advice would you give someone who might be contemplating it?
If you want to live abroad and this freaks you out to go so far away or just go somewhere, I'd say just move to a different city just to experience something different, right? You don't have to do a huge big thing before you do it, but just go to a different city and know that you have to. What I tell people is you're not going to do anything different abroad than you do wherever you live. You're going to go to work if you work. You're going to run your business if you have a business. You're going to raise your family if you have a family. You're going to go to the grocery store. You're going to go to the movies. So it's not like your life is going to, substantially change. You're just doing it in a different environment. I'd say understand the culture. There are certain things that can be offensive to some people, or but you need to be aware of that, and you don't want to start out right out offending people or finding people not taking you not taking you as nicely as you would like. So I definitely say just do your investigation. People always say, how much does it cost for a flight to London, and is it expensive? And I say, don't go to Target or Walmart for 6 times and spend £100, $100. Don't go and you can afford a trip. So when people say, I can't go, it's a lot of money, I'm like, just don't go to Walmart, don't go to Target, don't go to whatever, about 6 or 7 times, and you can get a flight over. So recently it's been inexpensive. It's a place to go. You know what? You're only going to live once. You have to do this, Nowadays, I'm like, oh, if I die, what would I do? If something was to happen, you do not want to say, oh, I didn't go because I bought some Triscuits at Walmart, or, I did something. Just go ahead and do it. If you feel bad, get on a plane. I'm sure you can call somebody and say, this didn't work out. I need to come home, and people will help you get back home. So come and try it. It'll be good.
Oh, thank you so much, Salise, for sharing your world in beautiful Great Britain, and much blessings to you and your husband, and your vacation in the Maldives. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you so much
appreciate
for having me.
it. Bye bye.
Bye.